my mistakes, woven through my story, all the mess I make, God use it for your glory.
Hello, it's Lena here, and today I wanted to talk to you about Cambly. Cambly, as I've spoken about in one of my previous videos, is a wonderful company that allows you to speak with people all over the world who want to improve their English. And there are different ways that you can do this. You can either talk freely with people, just hi, how are you? Where are you from? Basic stuff. Or they have a library that was a little bit confusing for me to learn at first, but I've been using it quite often now, and I love it. There's just so many possibilities that you can have with this library that makes conversation with these people a lot easier and oftentimes more constructive, especially when you might not know what to say with this person who might not be very talkative. So if you just open up one of their articles or something in the library, it will help to take some of the pressure off. Especially sometimes I've seen people, they want to talk for an hour. And if you don't have much to talk about, it gets to be a little tricky in trying to fill that hour time. So going to the library, which is along the tab, I don't really feel comfortable showing you the screen of Cambly, the website. So I'll just have to talk you through it. But along the top of the website, there is a tab called Library. So if you go into the library, you will see that you can pick from content, test prep, professional skills, or starter conversations. If you just press on one, press on conversation starters, right? That gets you to another screen where you have My Library, curriculum, test prep, professional skills, and again, conversation starters. So all of the tabs will lead to this page, and you have more options on this page that is seen from the other pages. So if I go to conversation starters, let's just say, I can pick an article that you can talk about, and the articles will open up once you press on those tabs, and you can read the article together, and oftentimes they'll have questions that help you to discuss the article afterwards. So that's really nice. It helps them with their reading comprehension. And there's several to choose from. So that's conversation starters. There's curriculum. The curriculum, if you press on that tab, has just starting. It has beginning, it has intermediate, it has grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. I really like these curriculum ones because it gives you something to read so that when the student is reading it, they can hear the sentence structure that they're supposed to use, because oftentimes they are struggling to just get that one word to communicate something that they're thinking about, but it's really hard to construct those sentence structures. So if you go into these curriculums, you can read conversations, and it helps them to understand what it's supposed to sound like when they use the word in a full sentence. And again, it takes the pressure off. And so after you read these dialogues, then it'll give you maybe some type of exercise or thing to learn. Like in the first lesson, the thing they want you to learn is vocabulary. They have to go, there's so many vocabulary words that they need to pick up on in the beginning. So they give you a list of vocabulary words and then exercises that helps you to use these vocabulary words to test their understanding. So that's really helpful too. In other lessons, you might have a chart that talks about, when to use there, and there. And they can see the differences, or how to use the conjugation of the verb to be. They'll have like a chart there so they can see that. So those are in your beginning lessons. They're just starting. Beginning lessons continue with that. And then once you start getting into your intermediate lessons, they have less of like those basic lessons, and they have more activities for you to engage in with your student. So it's really nice. And as you progress on, you have more vocabulary words that include expressions and idioms. And they really love to hear the different expressions that are used, because sometimes we think of pick up on. What did you pick up on when that person was making that comment? That that doesn't make much sense to them. Pick up on. Sometimes they don't know what that means, so these expressions that we use all the time just, are nice to share with them and have a good laugh about what they mean. So these lessons allow for you to have many vocabulary words, many expressions that you can teach them, and also many questions that you can ask them to help them with their understanding. So if you go through the library, there's just a lot of stuff there that you can click on, and then you add it to your library. So you want to go through the library before you start having your lessons, so you can see what you like and what you want to use in your classroom. And then once you add it to your library by just pressing, once you hover over the article or the lesson, there's a plus sign. You click on the plus sign, that adds it to your library, so that when you go to your library, you have all of your articles that you've saved. And then when you are in the classroom, on the left hand side of the screen, you will see where it says lesson for today, and you can press on that lesson, or that bar, and that will open up the articles that you've already pre-selected for your library, and then you can choose the one that you want to use for that student. And then when you press on it, it'll pop up in their chat box as a link, and then they press on the link, and then it opens up. You both can press on it, and it opens up in a separate window, so they can still see you while you're having your conversation, but they can also see the window that they need to read from, so you can both know what you're discussing. So that's the way it works. Sometimes I have students who, once they start using these lessons, they can actually go in and they can pick a lesson that they want to go over before they actually meet with me. So they can, they can choose it and they select it. I don't know exactly how they do that on their end, but they select it and it goes into our classroom, so that when I show up, they've already, I can see it, and we can go through it together. So they're able to pick out these things as well as we are. So it's very helpful, especially when you have ongoing students who like to come to you and you've asked them all about their family, all about their jobs, and where they live and what their house looks like. Now you can go on to something else. And so I love using the library. I think it's very helpful. I hope that is helpful to you too. And one way that, when I start a conversation with somebody who I'm fairly new with, I will tell them right away. Well, sometimes it just depends. You have to kind of feel your way in your conversation with the new person. But sometimes I'll just say, so today, would you like to have free talk, or would you like to do a lesson? And they'll say, oh, a lesson? What's a lesson? And I'll just show them. I'll say, this is a possibility. We can, look at this, and I'll go in, open up my library, pick a lesson that might be appropriate for them, and then just let them see it, so they can decide, like, maybe I want to do this, or maybe I just want to have free talk. And then we could just have free talk. But, especially for those new people who you might have come to you, it's really nice for you to just introduce the library to them, just so they know it's there, and then they appreciate this, and then they would want to come back to you because you're giving them information that's helping them. So I hope that this was helpful to you, and thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. And please, if you'd like to see more videos like this, and I do plan on making more instructional videos over time, please subscribe to my channel so you can come and visit again. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. Something that I did not mention was that many of the people who come on Cambly are studying for the IELTS test. And this test is something that many professionals need to pass in order to get their degree, because then it shows that they're able to have a good, healthy, strong conversation. So if you go under the test prep section, and if you look for the IELTS tab, you press on that, and there's many different articles or lessons that you can use, but you want to find the IELTS prep, which will help you to have just many topics that they need to go over for this IELTS test. And it's pretty much, many of them are similar. So when you go into that section, you'll find many that are similar, but it's really just topics and questions that are kind of the same throughout. So it'll have, an about you section and a series of questions that you should ask them. What should I call you? What's your full name? Do you work or do you study? And then it'll have a study section. What is your major? What is your favorite subject? Stuff like that. So it can help them to really explain and describe and talk about these things in a, more of a relaxed way. It has questions about your work. They have to be able to talk about their work very fluently. Your hometown, what you do in your free time, holidays, places that you go to in your free time, transportation, shopping. So you get the picture. These are very helpful questions for them. But even if they're not studying for the IELTS, these are good questions to ask any of your students who are able to understand, who are at this level. So I like to sometimes just open up one of this IELTS lesson and just have it for reference. If I'm talking to somebody and I just run out of things to ask them, then I just start going down the list, and there's so many questions to ask from this list alone. So that's something to keep in mind. And also, in addition to the IELTS, there was one more thing. That I forgot the first time. Yes, the children. There was this one student who came to me and he was like, "Do you want to play a game?" And he's like 10 years old. And I'm like, "Sure, let's play a game." So he's like, "Okay, I'm going to send you something." So he sent me a link. I was like, very impressive. Okay. So I open up the link and it's to a map. And he says, "Okay, so I'm going to tell you a country and you tell me what color it is." Okay. So we spent like 20 to 30 minutes going through and playing this game. He was like, Madagascar, and I was looking through and I'm like, "Oh, it's orange." And then I was like, "Okay, where is Egypt?" And of course you try to find something that's kind of close to where they live, because when you get further out, it's a little bit more confusing for them. But it was a great way to talk and to help him during that time. And so I just started using that for some of my children, that come to me, or teenagers, and then it helps us to talk about, like, would you want to visit that place? Or, what do you think about that place? It's a wonderful English lesson as well as a geography lesson for the kids. So that was really helpful. So I have that link, saved, so that I can just always open it up, and you can copy it in your on your web page, and then you can paste it into their chat box and then send it to them, and so they can just open it up. You can basically do that with anything that you want to cross on the internet. Sometimes we're talking about something and we just don't understand. Like, I was trying to tell somebody about a squirrel. It's like, "Do you have squirrels there?" And they're like, "What's a squirrel?" So I was like, "Oh, let me show you." So I typed it in, found a picture, and then put in the chat box to share with them, and they were able to see the picture. "Oh yeah, squirrels. I know squirrels. We call it something else." So, and then people have done that same thing for me too. So that's something, you might not think about, but you can use the chat box for that as well. You can find your own links, your own lessons that you want to share with them. So as time goes on, you will figure out what works best for you. But yeah, just wanted you to know that. Thanks.